The newest patch has just dropped for Total War Warhammer 3, and with it the advent of the Steam Workshop, bringing mods to the game. In this video, we're going to be talking about my top picks for mods on week 1 of the Workshop launch. As a bit of a disclaimer up front, most mods are in a heavy beta phase, so any mod that is pretty incomplete but will bring a suite of new stuff to the game will be reserved for the latter part of the video, while the more essential mods will hit up front in the front end of the video. Also, keep note, I don't use mods that are total conversion mods or anything that really completely changes the game, sans removing the Realm of Chaos campaign, that is. So the mods in this list will be aimed at graphical overhauls, quality of life improvements, or just generally making your experience with Warhammer 3 more enjoyable. If you don't want to sit through the entire video, I provided chapters to each mod or sets of mods that you can quickly navigate to, as well as links to every mod in the description below. Huge shout out to each and every mod developer that has created all this or brought it over from Warhammer 2. If you do decide to download any of these mods, please make sure you favorite and or like them. Help push the mod to the front of the herd, as there are a ton of mods that were released all at once. So it'll take some time for them to start kind of getting sorted out. I'll do a follow-up video to this in a month or two when we hopefully, get more features added to the game, as well as the mod devs start fully fleshing out some of their Warhammer 1 and 2 mods. But let's jump in on my list of top mods for Total War Warhammer 3. So the first 2 mods actually remove intro videos from the game. And a lot of people are probably going to say, just press the escape button, bro. That's fine. I can do that, but I can press this button, play again. And as soon as the game actually boots up, I'm going to bypass all this crap and I'm going to immediately be into the game. And that for me is nice because I've already put a couple 100 hours into the game, so I don't have to sit there and press escape and smash my way through that. The second portion of this mod, well, it's a secondary mod. You can see them both in the lower left. If I press campaigns and press new campaign, in the default vanilla, it's got to boot up another intro. I got to press escape through that. It's kind of like unnecessary after you've seen it for the first time. So I just press new campaign, and boom, all of my campaigns are listed right there. It's a really easy mod. And I know for a lot of people, like I said, you can just simply escape your way through it, but it just kind of makes jumping into the game much quicker and faster, especially for someone like me who's already logged tons of hours into the game and just wants to be done with all those annoying splash screens. Next up is probably one of the most important mods on this list, the one that a lot of people have been waiting for. You can do it on your own if you want to, but this is the best way to actually do it. It's shutting off the Chaos Realm. So go ahead and press settings. After you've downloaded the mod, you'll see this, Realm of Chaos, enable campaign narrative. So by default, I believe it's actually checked off. If I press this button and press start campaign, this option is disabled. The rifts to the Chaos Realms will never open and the campaign will remain a sandbox. The nice thing about this mod is it applies to single player as well as multiplayer, and it only applies to the specific save. So if you are going through the campaign and you decide, you know what, I actually do want to go through the Realm of Chaos narrative on a specific one, you can just simply press this and it turns it on. And then by simply pressing start campaign, I'll go through the loading screen, go through the process of everything, and then I'll get a special splash screen telling me that the actual campaign narrative has been turned off. Again, this is something that a lot of people have wanted for since they've beaten the game already. They're like, all right, I've gone through my second, third playthrough. I don't want to deal with that anymore. Let me just jump right in. And we'll be able to see that once this finishes. We'll skip this intro and you'll get this telling you Urson falls silent. So that is no longer a part of your campaign. You'll never have to deal with Urson again. So the first of our UI changes is the unique faction UI mod. Now I've increased the resolution on my UI to better show this off, so here you go. Here is Khorne. Now this will only apply to Khorne and Nurgle right now. And Khorne's a pretty easy one because it's already quite red, but this gives us more of a deeper crimson color. You get a lot more of this nice metal effigy over here, and you get these nice kind of white or bone accents around. If I go into the research too, it's a lot of the same stuff, but if I click over here to diplomacy, I get the cool Khorne berserker crest down here in the corner. So again, this is a red that you already can expect whenever you're taking a look at Khorne, but it kind of makes it more dynamic. It adds more silver in there, it adds more white like bone in there. But let's take a look at Nurgle, because that one's even cooler. So again, with Nurgle we get a lot of the same stuff, but it is now colored green. And it is like almost like an oversaturated green in some locations too, very, very green. And as you can see here in Diplomacy, you get lots of green. And the mod developer said in the description that just because of the way that the UI is actually structured and made by Creative Assembly, Warhammer 2 was pretty much done with a bunch of PNGs. Warhammer 3 actually has XML for a ton of its UI elements, so he's working on how to deal with a lot of that stuff here. Like I said, it only is currently active with Khorne or with Nurgle, but it should be fun to see this kind of pushed out across other factions. Get this weird little like tentacle thing up there. Get this cool little motif. You saw with the Khorne when you had the Berserker crest around this location too as well. So just to kind of show off a lot of this really quickly here, you can kind of see how it looks, that nice kind of green tint to it. You still have that background red in there, and I'm sure as the mod developer deals with a lot of the cumbersome nature of dealing with the innate UI as it is, he'll start to work around a lot of this stuff. But this is a really cool one that I think in the future is going to be a really awesome mod once it fleshes out through a lot more other factions. Next up is the alternative unit cards mod, and I'm actually pretty fine with the unit cards in the game by default, but when I saw this mod I was like, man, this actually makes them look really cool, very dark. I like a lot of the art that they've done here for like the Ice Guard or the Streltsy, who ironically look like they're actually playing a guitar, but the Tsar Guard, Ice Guard, and it does it for all of the Warhammer 3 factions. It does not apply to any of the Warhammer 1 or 2 factions, unfortunately, but if you are kind of bored with the standard unit cards, these are a great way to just get a lot of different variety into the game. Of course, it doesn't change the actual unit on the battlefield. Like, I mean, your Peasant Long Spearmen are still going to look like Peasant Long Spearmen, but it's just kind of a way that if you, like I said, are sick of these standard looking unit cards, you get a lot of really cool and different variety from these. So I'm just kind of going through them really quick here for you. You can see pretty much every single faction. Like, take a look at these Chaos Warriors, man. They look pretty goddamn girthy and scary, and I really like it. Even the Nurgle stuff, like you look at just these basic Forsaken of Nurgle, that's a pretty badass looking unit card. The Plague Bearers themselves too, or the Plague Toads. I really like the art direction that the mod dev took on this one, especially too with all of the Sineshi ones. A lot of very high contrast purple in here, and kind of compare it to like a lot of the blues that you get, blues and purples you kind of get in Siege here. But really cool mod, especially if you are, like I said, bored of these standard unit cards. Switching back over to just the base UI, we have the UI Improvements mod. And this is a pretty nice one because it makes readability a little bit better in the game. By default, this would be like a really high contrast green, like almost like a neon green. That would say Kislev. This would be like a very muted gray, and it'd have a lot of clouding to it. This is a lot more legible banners when it comes to just taking a look at the individual provinces, which is very nice. Further going into the province, when I look at these actual buildings, there are some things we're going to talk about. So for one, the other portion of this video, or this section, we're going to talk about the Building Progressions mod, which adds progression to the art for every building as you go up in its tiers. And this is custom drawn by the mod developer himself to kind of fit the overall aesthetic that the vanilla game had intended. And it's really, really cool. It's only active for Kislev right now, but it will expand out to other races as he kind of does those developments. But what part of the UI improvement mod, another big one here, is if I go ahead and let's just say we'll go build just anything, doesn't matter. Here, we'll make that, and we'll make this, and we'll demolish that. I have a clear idea of what's going on. This is being demolished. It's in red. This is being built because it's in a bright green. It's very easy to follow. The default UI is not like this, so it's a nice way to just kind of really get a quick idea, context clue in the UI of what's going on. Very light, very easy mod, but a nice one, especially one that works very nicely in conjunction with the building progression icons. For those of you that are lore fans, the Legendary Lore mod has been brought over from Total War Warhammer 2 and adds nice little lore blurbs when you encounter specific locations, other legendary lords, all sorts of fun things. So example here is the Ice Queen of Kislev, and this gives us a nice little kind of idea of the true lore, or the lore, true lore, that's like it's a fake or something, the lore behind Ice Queen Katarine. And this will kind of color your entire campaign as you explore more regions in Total War Warhammer 3. Another great yet easy mod is the settlement capture pictures. So it replaces all of those weird generic little ones that we got in Warhammer 3 for any of these actions of occupy, loot and occupy, sack and raise, and replaces them with faction specific capture pictures that we had in Warhammer 1 and 2, and this is fleshed out for all present factions in the game. So you'll be able to do this for all of the demons, for Kislev, for Cathay, and for the Ogre Kingdoms. It's just a nice way to kind of give a nice custom narrative to that specific campaign, and it is one that a lot of people have said they really don't like in the current UI for Warhammer 3. These two mods are going to allow you to navigate and manage your characters a lot better, starting with the first one here in the one button respec. So you'll be able to press this button on the right and it will reset your character's skills. What I like about this is that it's pretty balanced in the sense that it will cost 1,000 gold, which is pretty inexpensive, but this can only be done once. It's really meant to be dealt with anytime you confederate or take on a whole bunch of characters from an AI faction that all have their skills poorly spent. You can go ahead and press this, or maybe you're jumping back into an old save and you want to allocate your skills differently because they've changed with a patch. Again, a really good example here would be the Demon Prince of Chaos. Now the other one is called the Army Carousel mod. And if I click on my character right here, I can see all of the characters and agents in that army right here on the right. This is just your standard look, right? It's all your agents and lords and heroes and everything are right here on the left, but this mod adds this little area over here to allow you to navigate this. So this is the leader of this army, and he has these 3 heroes in his army. But if I press this icon, I'm now looking at all of my lords. So either this character or this character. And I can just kind of quickly navigate to and from them easily. I'm going to unclick this, and now I can see the heroes in this lord's army. But let's go a little bit further into this. Let's take a look at this iridescent horror. Well, I've got 3 iridescent horrors, and rather than having to navigate and finding them, I can press this button, and it's just going to show me my 3 iridescent horrors. It's just a really great way to just navigate through all of your many agents you will have, especially if you're playing the Demon Prince campaign, where you have just a whole bunch of different ones that are rewarded to you throughout the campaign non-stop. It's just a great way to navigate through all of them. Another very light UI mod that is actually made by the same person who made UI improvements is the Ultimate Portraits mod. So this is going to apply to any of the legendary lords, and it is not 100% complete. Like Khorne is not done, Zhao Ming is not a part of this, and Scrag is not a part of this, but everyone else is done. So if I go ahead and click over here on Kugoth, you can see he's got a nice new portrait. Same thing here. Oh, that's not what's her name. She's right there. There's Katarine. We get the same thing too. If I zoom in a little bit, I'll be able to find him. Where are you? Maybe I actually just killed him. Ah, there we go. There's Kosteltian. So you can see that it just kind of makes him look a little bit better, less like kind of, I don't know, less bad shadows on them or whatever it is that makes the default ones look kind of crappy. So by just kind of enabling this, you get a really nice looking mod. And it also will apply to some of the older characters that are on the map too. You can see Throth the Unclean. This works for Karl Franz. It'll work for Manfred von Karstein. So a lot of the other characters that are already present too, you will also see this reflected, especially any of the other Skaven ones, Thorgrim, stuff like that. But a very light one, very nice one to just kind of make those overall portraits look a little bit better. Next up is the famous Hooveric Reskin mod. Now right now this is of course very heavily in beta, and it only applies to the Zargard and mainly just their shields. But if anyone who's played this from Warhammer 1 or 2, they know that they're going to be completely overhauling every single unit in the game. He's also importing right now the Greenskins and the Beastmen into Warhammer 3. The Beastmen have a 100% import right now, so if you play against any of the Beastmen, all those old school Hooveric Reskins will be present. I think 75% of the current Greenskins reskins are in the game. But right now, of course, this does not going to apply to anything else in this army, unfortunately, but I put it on this list because it is definitely one to get now and just have it start updating for you whenever they roll out more and more improvements to those reskins, because it's going to be amazing. Another big mod here is the Better Camera mod. This is basically the developer camera that you can turn on via the INI files, but it's really just kind of easily done using this mod because you can get nice and low, really good crisp little angles here. you can really kind of clip through the ground at some parts, but the developer camera allows you to just straight up go into the ground. So this kind of actually gives you what the camera probably should be on default, and it is really, really nice, just especially to get those really cool kind of cinematic angles here if you want to get that like really nice shot, whatever it is. It's one of the ones that I've had on since Warhammer 1. I absolutely love this mod. Now our last mod is the Miscast mod. This will essentially make it so that whenever your character's miscast, it is way more obvious. Like things will explode and get disgusting. If they have the blood on, if you have blood on, whenever that gets enabled, it will be pretty sweet. So let's see if we can get one to go off right now. Okay, there it is. So that gives you an example of what happens here. Oh my god. Oh man, I haven't seen that since Warhammer 2, and it's great. So you also get Surge Struck as an effect that happens if there is a miscast that happens, and it has all these effects that go down. So basically it kind of makes miscasting a little more deadly, right? You definitely know that something's going to be happening here as far as all of your debuffs go, but really it makes it visually extremely appealing because you really see when this is actually going down and when it happens, and it can have a lot of really devastating effects to your army. But I overall really, really enjoy this because it just makes it look so cool, in addition to actually kind of being pretty loreful and pretty kind of true to the tabletop, where if your mage exploded it kind of had some pretty dire consequences. So one of my favorite mods in the game. And at that, it brings our video here to a close. So if there's any mods on this list that I maybe missed, ones that you really want to talk about, please by all means let it be known in the comment section below. Unfortunately, YouTube naturally just blocks all links. So make sure you just copy and paste the straight up Steam Workshop name, so someone can just go ahead and put that into the search and immediately jump to that mod if they're interested in what you're saying. Because there are a ton of mods out there. And these are a lot of the ones that are either already existing in Warhammer 2, a lot of the ones that people have wanted to change since Warhammer 3 has come out, or just stuff that I didn't even think I wanted, right? The unit cards, I didn't think I wanted those changed. Then I saw them, I'm like, wow, these are actually really cool, very high detail, a little bit more grim and dark, as people would say when it comes to the actual portrayal. So any other mods that you really like, go ahead and let it be known, especially if it is Meow Ying and her giant dragon titties, as that mod is ridiculous. But as always, guys, thank you so much for watching here today. Again, a huge shout out to all of the mod developers and creators that have made these, that will continue to make these throughout the entirety of Warhammer 3's life cycle, and keep an eye on them. If there's any one of them, like the Hooveric Reskin mod, stuff like that, that you can't wait to see expanded into more facets of Warhammer 3. But as always, thank you so much for watching here today. Have a good one, and take care.